Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Tasis Kalimos. Happy to be joining you guys on this beautiful Saturday morning to give you guys my best bets for today's Orange Bowl matchup between number 6 Georgia and number 5 Florida State. That's right, folks. We have some college football picks to share with you guys today. It's been a minute since I've given you guys some college football bets. Part of that is because I've been a little disappointed with the bowl season this year. Between the transfer portal stuff and some bad injury luck, a lot of these bowl games have kind of felt like scrimmages to me, like something like spring practices where it's like you're getting a bunch of backups and younger guys who are playing. It's not really the best football. It's not like it's, their full strength teams. So many teams are on their third string quarterback. So I've kind of been hesitant to give picks for certain videos, but with the bigger bowl games coming, with the college football playoffs coming, I figured I would focus on individual bowl games and give you guys my best bets for individual bowl games. So these are my best bets here for the Georgia-Florida State Orange Bowl matchup. Let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's jump over to this screen here. We're going to go take a look at my best bets for today's matchup between number 6 Georgia and number 5 Florida State. A little context on this game. The line has been moving crazily, and that is because of Florida State, and it almost feels like intentional to a point. Pretty much the majority of their starters are not playing. This is basically Florida State's C team, not even their B team. This is Florida State's C team playing against a Georgia Bulldogs team that honestly is almost at full strength. Now, that's not to say that Georgia is without some of their own players. Brock Bowers, their starting tackle, both the guys who were projected to be first-round picks are sitting out. They have a number of players in the transfer portal as well. However, the guys for Georgia who are in the transfer portal, the majority of them have played less than 100 snaps this season for Georgia. So they're players that they didn't play a ton to begin with, and so they can, go without. This is pretty much the same Georgia Bulldog team that we saw lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game a few weeks back. And so I do think Georgia playing at full strength versus a Florida State team that is, like I said, it's basically their C team. I do think Georgia, it makes sense why the line keeps moving. If you were lucky, earlier in the week, you could have gotten the spread at -17. It's now at -21. And even a couple weeks back, you go back to when they first lost to Bama, it opened at -13, and now it's jumped all the way to -21. Like I said, Florida State, they are on their third string quarterback, true freshman, who the last time we saw him did not look good at all. So I understand why there's been so much movement. And you'll see here in a second how that impacts my pick. So starting off here, my first bet we're going to go with Georgia -21. I am not afraid to take the spread here. I'm going to put 1 unit on this bet. I know people are starting to get a little scared because the number keeps getting higher and higher, and it is the Orange Bowl. It's supposed to be one of the biggest bowls. This should be the biggest bowl outside of the college football playoff games, the number 6 versus number 5 team in the country. But again, Florida State has basically opted to not send their full team. And like I said, part of it is the transfer portal. Some of it is injuries. Obviously, Jordan Travis, he can't play. But I feel like there's a lot of just sit-outs that aren't related to the transfer portal, that aren't related to injuries. They're just guys opting not to play. And it does kind of feel like Florida State took the not getting into the college football playoff personally. And look, I think they have good reason. Whatever your thoughts are on it are, personally myself, I know it seemed unfair. I thought it was the right move not to put them in, especially with the injuries of Jordan Travis and stuff. If you had put Florida State in the 4 spot instead of somebody else, they would have just got blown out in the first game. I truly do believe that. They didn't have the toughest strength of schedule in the year. I do think had Jordan Travis stays healthy, they should have gotten in. But even with Jordan Travis, I think Florida State would have gotten blown out in the first game. I think the committee were trying to avoid that. And I do think the college football playoff field they gave us was the best field possible. So I think they made the right choice. It does suck for Florida State because they did have a great season. They did everything right. They went undefeated. They won an ACC championship, and they got punished because their quarterback got hurt. And it does suck. So I do get the frustration. I do get maybe them not wanting to even play this consolation bowl. But they are in the bowl game and they are playing, so we will look at it. And like I said, Georgia, they're sending their full team. That is why, even if Florida State had their full squad, if the spread was 13.5, I'd still take Georgia. When Florida State's sending out your C team, this spread could go up even higher. I would try to get on this now at 21 because I do think prior to game time in a couple hours leading up, this will jump even higher. So if you can hop on this 21-point spread now, do it now because this could go up to as high as 22 by the time the game kicks off. I think they cover. I think Georgia rolls here. I just don't see how Florida State will compete, especially if Georgia, even if they're only playing their starters for the first quarter, I think Georgia will roll here. And that actually leads me into my next pick here. This is my favorite pick of this game. We are going with Georgia, minus 10.5 first half. I'm going to put 2.5 units on this pick. Again, Georgia, I don't think the starters will play the whole game. I think my theory on how this game is going to go, I think Georgia, they're going to come out. They're going to have all the starters. They are going to roll early. They're going to build a very large lead on this weak Florida State team. They're going to go off early. They're going to build this massive lead, and then they're going to sit most of the starters for the second half. I think Carson Beck, maybe he plays into the third quarter. I personally don't think he will go that far into the second half. I think Georgia will build a massive lead. They're going to be up by at least 2 touchdowns at halftime, maybe even more. And then in the second half, they'll probably put the backups in, and you're going to see the Florida State, it'll kind of even out a little bit more. But I think in the first half in particular, when you have Georgia's full-strength team pissed off, coming off, because remember, Georgia's kind of in a similar spot, right? Undefeated regular season, defending national champions. They get beat by Alabama in the SEC championship game, and all of a sudden, they go from like the top 2 team in the country to 6 and looking out on the college football playoffs. So they also are in a spot of disappointment, of feeling maybe wronged a little bit over the fact that they're not in the playoff. And so I do think that would be a little extra motivation to at least come out here in the first half and lay a beat down on this beat up Florida State team. So I do love this pick here, Georgia, minus 10.5 first half. And just in case you guys don't believe me, because I think maybe you think I'm overstating the fact that they're missing some players, here's a list. This is just opt-outs. These are just guys they're not in the transfer portal. They're not whatever. They just decided they're not going to play. Johnny Wilson, 459 snaps this season. Keon Coleman, 672 snaps this season. Those are their top 2 wide receivers. Tight end Jaheim Bell, 451 snaps this season. Starting running back Trey Benson, 413 snaps. Starting defensive end Jared Verse, 586 snaps. Fabian Lovett, Akeem Dent, Renardo Green, Jerrion Jones, Lawrence Toafali. Like, those guys all played 337 or more snaps. All those players I just named. They're like star players. And there's so many more players. Like tight end Markston Douglas, offensive tackle Bless Harris, linebacker DJ Lundy, backup quarterback Tate Rodemaker. Like, there's so many players. I mean, Rara Thomas, their starting wide receiver, he's out. Like, there's just so many guys out for this Florida State team. Like, again, on Georgia's side, they have opt-outs and they have transfer guys, whatever. But compared to Florida State, these are all of their like key players. So yeah, Georgia State, especially in this first half when Georgia has all their starters, they are going to roll. All right, moving along, guys. We have a couple playoff props. There's not a lot to take in this game, again, because this game is going to be so unpredictable with how things go. It's really tough to go ahead and take props, but I do have 2 props here to give you. The first one is Kendall Milton, anytime touchdown. I'm going to put 1.5 units down. Now, depending on the sportsbook of choice, this is around, like for MGM, I believe I saw it at minus 140. For DraftKings, it's minus 165. It's a pretty high odd bet. He has scored a touchdown in each of his last 8 games for Georgia, so this is a pretty surefire bet for Kendall Milton. He's done it, again, in each of his last 8 games. He has been going off of late. We don't know how much he's going to play. We don't know what his snap count's going to look like today. But assuming that they come out, again, like I theorized, strong here in the first quarter, I do think that Kendall Milton will find the end zone at least once. So we're going to put 1.5 units on it. Again, high odds, so you're not going to win a ton off of this. But if you put 1.5 units down, you should be able to at least win a unit or close to a unit on this pick. So pairing with that, now I'm not saying to parlay this, but this is in the same ballpark. We're going to go with Kendall Milton first touchdown. Now this one, a much higher payout. We're going to put a quarter of a unit, 0.25 units on this because, again, you're going first touchdown, a little riskier, but the payout is massive. It's like plus, I believe I saw it at plus 425. Depending on your sportsbook, it's over plus 400 odds if you can find the Kendall Milton first touchdown prop. Again, basing this all off the theory of that, I think Georgia will come out strong and they're going to come out hot to start. Kendall Milton, they'll probably give it to him early and often. And I think it's pretty safe to say if they score a touchdown, I think Georgia will be the first team to score here. And if they score, it's a pretty safe bet that it'll be Kendall Milton. Again, he's been a touchdown scoring machine of late for this Georgia Bulldog team. So I like the anytime touchdown. Again, a little bit higher odds. You're going to put 1.5 units on that. But here with the first touchdown prop, much higher payout. We'll go 0.25 units here. A little safer so that way if you lose, not a big loss, but if you win, you're sitting pretty. And guys, for my last pick here for this game, this is the final pick I'm giving out because there's not a ton to take here. this seems kind of strange because I've been talking nothing but shit on Florida State this whole game. But I'm going to go with Florida State. Team total over 10.5 points. I'm going to put 1 unit on this. I believe this is at minus 125 odds right now. So, a little decent payout. The reason I like this is because I do feel like in the second half, all of my picks are going off this theory of that Georgia's going to go off early. In the second half, I do think Georgia will bench a lot of their starters. I do think you're going to see a lot more backups for Georgia. And I also think that Georgia's defense, if they go out to a big lead and if they're winning heavy, their defense might take a few snaps off. They might be a little more lackadaisical. They're not going to be playing to win a national championship type of game. You know what I mean? Like, I do think in the beginning, I think Georgia's defense will come out strong. But Georgia, I could see them if they go out to a big lead kind of sleepwalking the rest of the way through this. And if that happens, I think even with all these backups, Florida State could score 11 points. Like, that's it. It's not like we're asking them to score a lot. We're not asking Florida State to score a bunch of, but we're not even asking them to score 2 touchdowns. I think over 10.5 points to sprinkle a unit on it just for the sake of it. I think garbage time, Florida State could score a touchdown, maybe 2. Which is why I like this prop. Again, it's not I wouldn't put your house on it. I wouldn't put, your mother's life on this bet. But to sprinkle for one more pick to give you guys, I do like the over of 10.5 points. And the odds have dropped. I think people are starting to think that Georgia will not let them score. Again, I think in garbage time, Florida State could get a touchdown or 2 and hit this team total over. First half, honestly, I don't think they score much at all. But second half, I could see Florida State sprinkling some points in there. So, guys, that is it for me. That is it for this video. Those are the 5 picks. I believe it's 5. 5 picks that I am giving you for this Orange Bowl, Georgia, Florida State. Again, I think Georgia absolutely dominates first half. I think they dominate the game, to be honest. But in particular, the first half, I think Georgia absolutely rolls here, guys. That is it for me for this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I will be having videos coming out for all the major bowl games, especially on the New Year's Day, college ball playoff, all that stuff. So make sure to tune in for those videos. Until next time, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy some college football.